All right. Happy Monday, Jeep family.
Howdy.
Howdy. And we are getting off to a slightly later start, but man, has it been a challenging Monday, and we've already had to adapt and overcome on a number of things.
It's been a Monday.
And usually we're pretty happy on Mondays.
I'm still happy.
We're still happy. We're
Yes.
still happy. I'm Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, coming to you from the SFJ 4x4 studio, and our lovely co-host, as usual,
A mad scientist, Scott Brown.
Yes, the mad scientist. And if you are not 100% pertinent to where that comes from, it has to do over many years of Scott conjoining parts
Against the
parts and pieces that weren't exactly supposed to go together.
Everybody else calls it hot rodding.
Yes,
In the Jeep world, we call it mad scientist.
Yes, and you bring a unique piece to us as a business doing that. So. And a big thank you to our production crew back here who's worked diligently to get us started. We have a lot of background noise going on because there's actually obviously the furnace is running because it's winter in northeastern Ohio.
It's a balmy 50 degrees.
In the shop, yeah, it's balmy 50 degrees in the studio at the moment, but it's like 30 at best outside.
We have threatened for snow today.
We do have squall threats. And we have construction going on.
Yep.
Because, do you know what's going on there?
Well, an idle business, doesn't grow, so we're not idle.
We're not idle at all.
And we want some better internet for doing things like we are on for you today.
Yes.
And so they're actually currently upgrading our service while we're talking to you.
While we're talking, the cable company is installing fiber throughout the building. And so there's we can usually when we look out over the landscape of all of the Jeeps, now we have guys climbing on ladders in the rafters as they pull fiber.
Greg would be so jealous.
Oh yeah, heights. He would want to be up in the man basket right now, teeter-tottering.
Yes.
So we're pushing to be extra close to our microphones.
Yep.
I'm so thankful for our guys to figure out the fact that I don't have to sound like a robot, and Davey doesn't have to make bad videos of me. Like bad hip hop videos, remixes. So hopefully we can avoid that. Really important to plug what's going on this weekend, this coming weekend.
Yep, this is our Christmas parade on Black Friday. We are starting to gather at 5 here. We'll have light refreshments. You can come in and see the shop if you haven't.
Yep.
It's a great opportunity to do that, and then you get to drive your Jeep with a bunch of other Jeeps. And obviously, decorations on your Jeep is encouraged.
Absolutely.
Inverters, lights. If spirit moves you, no top with giant Christmas displays hanging off the Jeep. All good go.
Yes.
It's all happened before.
Yes. Giant snowmen, 6-7 foot tall snowmen sticking off the tops of of roofs or out of the back seats of Jeeps, and we actually turn out quite a few Jeeps. In the grand scheme, I had a person tag me into a social media post over the weekend, and they were so tickled because at their local community Christmas or holiday parade, they had 4 Jeeps, and 4 Jeeps, and their kids went absolutely nuts over it. They thought it was the coolest thing. These are non-Jeep owners. But they, are on my social media, and they thought I would get a kick out of it.
So they don't have the Conneaut parade problem where you hear little kids going, "Oh, there's more Jeeps."
More Jeeps. Or like the grown men who are filming it for the city are like, "Oh, more Jeeps are coming." They're trying to vamp. They're trying to find something to talk about.
Yeah. But it's a great time. If you haven't participated in a parade like that, it's a great thing to do. It's very fulfilling. Are they doing candy this year? Do you know?
You know what? Here's what I'm sharing with people. We're not officially encouraging you to throw candy, but we're not discouraging anyone. Okay. And so that's I've had a couple conversations regarding the health and welfare of people, and I know the July 4th parade that we did participate in. There was
wasn't there rogue throwing?
There was rogue throwing. There was, and and people loved it.
Yes.
And while I'm not encouraging anyone to go against any type of health and safety standards, I think that candy being tossed from a vehicle, we were allowed to hand people candy. So whether you were privy to that or not, but you were actually allowed to hand the candy from a person walking the parade route or in go-karts, golf carts, hand them candy. Well, I think that throwing...
It's a little more social distancing.
A little more social distancing. So I want to make people happy with candy because,
Well, and Ashtabula threw candy in their Christmas parade.
Precedence has been established. Precedence has been established. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. A number of people have asked me, and I'm saying I'm not discouraging candy. Do you know if the countdown clock's going to run? Because, I'm just...
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk all day.
Yeah.
If given the opportunity, I love talking about Jeeps and what we do with our Jeeps.
So what are you gonna decorate your Jeep as?
You know what? I am. I have usually just kind of pushed a vehicle into the shape of a Jeep.
And you don't have to do that this year.
I don't have to do that this year, and I'm really hoping to bring my Jeep in and kind of go crazy with it. That's my initial.
More, Jen or you?
Oh.
There's no competition with you.
Well, we are incredibly competitive individuals, my wife and I. But we will. I haven't even talked to her about what vehicle we're going to drive.
I just assumed that you would both do Jeeps.
She doesn't like to drive in the parade. She wants to ride in the parade. Oh, first of all, Jamie Payne. So we are live. If you haven't joined us yet, you can still join us. And Mr. Payne has joined us and asked if vans are allowed in the parade for candy sharing.
Are they on 40s?
Are they on 40s, and are they like an FC, like a forward control Jeep chassis?
Yeah, that I'll allow.
That would totally be permitted. A lot of people do ask us and say, hey, can I bring my K5 Blazer? And unfortunately, this is, for us, a Jeep only. Now, it is all... Well, the other question we get all the time is, can I bring my Grand Wagoneer, my ZJ, my pickup truck that's a Jeep? Yes, absolutely you can.
As long as it says Jeep on it.
As long as it says Jeep.
Even if you put that on right beforehand.
Even if you have to just kind of, scribble it on. As long as it says Jeep, we'll happily. No, Jamie, you don't have a van on 40s. Jamie's asking, yes, the van is on 40s. I call malarkey on that one. I call malarkey. But, yeah, we want you to come out if you've got a Jeep. It's a great atmosphere. It starts to get dark, at this time, at about, lunchtime, noon.
It's 100% Sharpest Corner approved. And you could get some good pizza while you're up here as well.
Yes, you can get great pizza because, we have pizza in churches and awesome Jeeps. But it starts to get, dark today at lunchtime around 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So you get to come in and we decorate the Jeeps. We look around the shop. You get to tell stories, whether they're true or made up, about your Jeep and things you've done with it.
It's better to have made-up stories.
Better. Yeah, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
No.
And then
that stuff.
We'll be here until about 6 p.m. here at the shop, and we'll leave here to go stage at the actual parade step-off point, where we will, drive through town and make people happy with our Jeeps.
Yes.
So if you have the opportunity, join us Black Friday, 5 p.m. here at our facility. And then afterwards, depart, go find some of that great pizza. There's a couple really good eateries and restaurants in the area, and go enjoy yourself and kind of get into the spirit of the season. So, speaking of weekends, obviously it's Thanksgiving coming up, and we have this lovely cornucopia display as put together by our production team. And I see there's some goodies up there, so we'll have to make sure we talk about that. We also want to remind you that, for the season of giving, we've got great merchandise. We've recently restocked. A bunch of people have recently put orders in. And
if you want hoodies, speak now, forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to be able to restock hoodies fast enough before Christmas.
Yeah.
And we need to get some more beanies just because of the cold season. But we do have, coffee and mugs. Lots of cool merchandise, and that will be for sale or available
and of
at
course,
the event.
Awesome Jeep accessories, because you got to remember your Jeep in this Christmas season as well.
That's right. The Jeep, it's the gift that keeps on taking. Sometimes, depending on what you give it, oftentimes it is the gift that keeps on taking. However, I did get a great message from one of our customers, and I definitely know he logs on and watches and enjoys. Chip Fury was, typically we don't talk about our customers, but I'm going to use his name because he left us a great review, and he reached out over the weekend and said that he drove his Jeep a couple thousand miles down the East Coast and was so thankful for...
Did it try to kill him once?
Not once. So we did a full... this time around, we did a Steer Smarts steering setup, Fox stabilizer, and then obviously a good quality alignment on his Gladiator.
And anyone that owns a JL or a JT knows that can be a challenge sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, it can be a little washy in the process.
They're a little bit free-spirited. They just kind of want to go where they want to go.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. And that was a big concern of his and before he took this trip. And we were able to dial that in, and he had a very safe and very confidence-inspiring experience. I said I was happy to be a small part of that.
Awesome.
So big shout-out to them. And so obviously that's the gift that gives, you know, as far as investing in your Jeep.
Do it right. Do it once.
Yes.
That's what we love to do. It sounds silly, but we hate to see people spend twice. But we want to put you in the right parts at the right time, set you up for success, so that when you do break your Jeep, it's not because of inadequate parts or that kind of stuff. It's because you have a really good story to embellish on in that future.
Hey, Jeep family, we hope that you're enjoying this content, and we want to make sure that you head over to sfj4x4.com, find some of this cool merchandise, give us a call at our facility, 440-813-3663. Option 1. And make sure that you tune in to our live podcast every Monday at 10:19 a.m. and check out our updates on YouTube on Tuesdays and Fridays. Until then, Jeep on. Talking about stories. So if you were on my social media at all, we let the cat out of the bag. And so talking about great stories to embellish upon on the future. We'll talk a little bit about what we did this weekend and a little project updates.
Yes. I found out that my dad's stories growing up might have been a little far-fetched.
Little big fish.
A little big fish.
But
it's okay, though. Good stories.
We let the cat out of the bag, Jen and I, as far as that competitive nature, or certainly the kind of carpe diem, seize the day, as far as our life is concerned, and we bought a
tiny home.
We bought a tiny home, arguably a tiny home. Not the intention
Our style tiny home.
Yeah.
Needs some work.
So
little love,
little elbow grease. We'll just polish it all out. But when we talk about great stories, we've spent the last a few months, certainly the last maybe even a year, contemplating a kind of a big change. Obviously, with all that's going on in the world, it makes you kind of sit back and you think a lot about priorities and expectations. And while we weren't exactly anticipating a big move like this, it seems like the opportunity presented itself. And of course, we're on to that next big adventure for those big fish stories.
Yes.
And so we found online the bones of our tiny home.
Yes.
And it is actually a retired oil field housing unit. It was a communications trailer specifically.
Which is going to make such good stories later on.
Such good stories. So basically, the idea we were gonna look at a container home, right? So everybody is so interested in these container homes and the modular nature of them. And while that's incredibly unconventional, let's take it a step further and buy a twice used.
And you just call me mad scientist.
Yeah, right, right. Well, that's why we're friends. So we buy this container-esque modular home. It is a modular home. It actually has a blueprints and a building company that built it.
I saw it had air conditioning.
It has air conditioning. It has a heat
very
pump.
Unlike you.
I know. I know. I'm growing up so much in my comfort of my old age, and so we go to ship this thing in, and we've been making plans. We've acquired some property here closer to our facility here in Conneaut, and it's actually a family-owned property up until recently, and that has its own legacy that goes with it. It is the hayfield that my siblings and I kind of proverbially learned to drive Jeeps in.
And the family farm's right around the corner.
And the family farm, the one that Grandpa Simpson bought after World War II,
That all the Jeeps worked on.
That all the Jeeps, yep.
And are currently residing on. So.
We actually have original Jeeps, yeah. And actually, for a very short period of time, the business was in the barn, which is a great story.
Yes. We definitely should talk about that at some point.
Some point in this, you'll have to make sure you join us so that we can talk about that. But anyway, so this property, and so Jen and I said we're going to truck this modular home in,
and it's magically go down the hayfield and just plant itself
and just plop,
boop,
and because that's what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
And they've got these incredible semi trucks that.
Of course, you want some footage. That's important.
What do you mean footage?
Frontage.
Frontage. Yes.
In front of the building. You
Yeah.
can't have it right on the curb.
No.
Not
no.
cool.
Now, a lot of people have called into contention how far off the road we really are. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we definitely there's a little bit of a drive, and it is through a hayfield. Now, we've been working on the property for a few months, and thought we had some hard pack, ready for the semi.
Drive Jeeps everywhere.
Yeah, we drive Jeeps everywhere. I've had a couple of our bigger trucks out there, no problem.
A little underestimated the weight of a building made to go very cold climates.
Yes.
And then a big industrial-sized trailer, and then a semi.
Yes.
And in case you wondered, Jeeps can't pull that out.
So, so we
They do awesome burnouts though.
when we're all tethered together. So what happens is the truck combo was actually permitted for 100,000 pounds, and I got to be honest, I think that number is a little bit lost on me. It's such a big number that maybe I don't have a good respect for what 100,000 pounds is.
You're saying it's a little over a GVW of our Jeeps?
It's a little bit over a GVW. I mean, all these times we're on the forums and people are concerned whether their Jeep's going to pull their garden trailer. When we start talking about 100,000 pounds of load.
So I shouldn't post that picture on the Jeep RVers?
No, they would not benefit. They would not benefit from that. No. But what we did do is we go to truck this in, and if I can kind of set the stage, my family, we show up, we've got Jen's JL, and we're out in the field because, of course, it has absolutely no problem. And the time of delivery was changed because the weather is supposed to be getting worse. So they moved it up. We were going to move it on a Saturday. Worked out great for us and our family to be there. And so we're standing out in the field, and we're going to get this kind of, magical selfie as the house kind of comes down the road.
As it gets stuck.
And so what we ultimately captured was as the truck and the house pull down into the property, because now this is me, again, I have this V nature to the drive, which I thought was going to be cool. All it did was complicate the manners, I think.
Very much so.
And as the truck and trailer pull onto it, the trailer, because again, it's, 1,000 feet long,
yes,
swings into the soft field that hasn't been groomed.
Not to mention that the house is longer than the trailer and hanging off the back.
Oh, I mean, it was hanging 25 feet off the back of the
Jeep
trailer.
length.
Oh, yeah. and it swings into the high grass and the soft soil, and I mean, it just settled down, just boop right to the frame of the trailer. Now, this is the part that I was starting to try to tell you guys earlier. You know what they do? The pilot car is a Dodge Durango
with a Hemi.
He was very proud of that.
He was.
And, Hemis are a cool vehicle, and Dodge Durangos, I've got nothing against them. Yep. But that's what they hooked a chain to the semi.
To his Dodge Durango with his Hemi.
On the 2-inch ball.
Ooh,
so they put the hitch in the Durango and chained right around the ball.
I wasn't privy to that. I thought what we did was foolish. That's up a notch.
So I wanted to share with you guys. That's why I was like, I can get some Jeeps. We're gonna tug this out, because the first thing that they did was they grabbed a chain. They set the bar.
We blew that bar off the rails.
We beat the brakes off that bar. So I run back, right? So now we're solidly
a phone
stuck.
Call. They're like, "What you doing?"
Yeah.
Working on Jeeps. Why? Because we're open till 1 on Saturday.
Right, and it's like noon at this point, maybe 11:45.
Yep.
And
I'm actually talking to a customer about the Christmas parade. What that called?
Oh, good. I'm glad you were, selling them to, come to the parade. That's good. Yeah, so I call and I'm like, what are you guys? What are you up to? You want to do some? You want to do some hillbilly things?
Yeah.
Kind of get in touch with our roots, and
of course Jeff was right on board.
Oh man, Jeff is just a good fit for us.
Yes,
he's a good fit. I mean, he was.
Like, you want me to pull down a house with my JT? I'm on it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He didn't bat an eye. He was like, I'm out. He was like the first one out the door.
Yes.
You know. Yeah, huge help. So. Come in, and I was going to grab a couple of our bigger trucks, which you guys dissuaded me from, which was
I think was for the best.
I have to admit now, on air to everyone that was an appropriate decision, because all we would have done was just bury.
We had to have more vehicles for the big trucks.
So
the big
many,
record to pull out.
So many big trucks would have been buried in the field that day.
But at least we had some reason, and we're like, you know what you should do? You should take Chuck Norris, and because it is what it is, it'll just pull it out by itself.
It was going to just scare the house out of the soil, is what 100%. I thought was going to happen.
So we put it first,
yes,
right at the house, and then mine after that, and then everybody made fun of my strap,
well,
how small it was.
I got to tell you, you brought. I wish we had that strap. I could produce it right now. I mean, it would be about this long, but that's what you pulled out of your Jeep to hook up to Chuck Norris, and Chuck just like grimaced at it and was like, "I'm going to eat that strap,"
and he did.
And he did. Jeff pulled out, I don't know, it was like 6 inches wide. It's meant to tear down houses.
Something that you could pull a semi with.
Something you actually could pull a semi.
Which sadly, mine was not in my Jeep. It was in my wife's Jeep. Because we're totally pulling semis with the 7 all the time, obviously.
Because the big strap, right.
The big strap.
Right. So, and then we're using chains.
This, honey, I need another strap. It's
yes.
broken.
Yes, you need it. Yeah, I'm going to be responsible for that, I'm sure. I know. And of course, we're pulling off of chains, which is great in the big truck industry.
Chains don't break.
Chains,
sort of.
Yeah, sort of, right? And of course, but chains are also kind of scary to Jeep people, right?
I was not comfortable.
I could tell you were panicking the whole time.
Yeah, there was a big chain though.
They were big chains. You should have seen the chain that came on the bulldozer.
Oh,
well. So anyway, so we hook up. We hook up, and we think this is going to be great. Now, it's also precariously, we couldn't pull it straight back. That might have been of benefit.
And the road wasn't very wide, so we couldn't get straight on it. So
we end up at an angle. We're at an angle to the trailer.
JT's in the street on the pavement.
Yep.
JK's on the street.
Mainly on the street on the pavement.
You were sort of on the street. You had 240s solidly on the street.
I had 40s on the street. I had lockers. I mean, I was ready to go. I was going to pop it right out of there.
Well, Jeff didn't even think low was required for this. I had to talk him into low. He wanted to do this in high range.
I don't know. I think Jeff was like a Cherokee guy, but not like a cool Cherokee, but like he was like a not a cool Cherokee. No. I mean, anyway, not a cool Cherokee. Like, we're cool Cherokee guys.
I was like, so I'm in low range, Jeff. So maybe just for the sake of consistency, we should all be in low range.
Yes.
So he did go to low range, I believe.
Oh, I wonder. We'll have to fact check that.
Yeah. And immediately, what happens when you pull in a straight line and things are at an angle is you just slide sideways, and suddenly an LJ is solidly in the dirt, digging holes.
I dug a hole that buried my 40.
Yes, almost to the center of the wheel.
Yes.
And next thing I knew, my back end was over into the dirt. Mm-hmm. And I heard a pop, which I think it was the True Track unlocking when that wheel went into the dirt.
You think it was the True Track, or did you have your e-locker?
I did not.
Oh, see, I wondered if your e-locker was on.
I did not turn on the locker. Honestly, I wasn't thinking I was going to need that.
I didn't turn on my front locker either.
Granted, I don't think it would have mattered a whole lot.
It didn't matter.
But at that point, that pop was also when my strap decided it was done.
Yeah.
And Chuck Norris bit it off right at the bumper.
Again, I wanna just call into contention whether or not it's actually a strap or whether it's a tree saver. It was a tree saver.
Yeah.
It was like a belt. I could wear it as a belt.
In my defense, I have a winch on my Jeep, and I very seldom need a strap because mine moves in and out of the vehicle with a button.
I like that you recommended you were going to winch the semi. At one point,
I just asked.
At one point in our conversation, you said you
think 100,000 pounds is slightly over my 10,000 pound weight capacity.
I really appreciate the
How many
winches.
snatch blocks would that take?
Oh, well, that would have been a great thing. How many snatch blocks?
So slow, but so much power.
So ultimately, what happens? I called in the big outfit, and a huge thanks to Kingsville Towing, which is a huge semi recovery company, not too far from us.
Yeah, they just pick them up and dance with them.
They do. They have a rotator trucks, and they have a couple of them, and a huge thanks to them. They actually, in their family, I'm not sure exactly at ownership level, but they have Jeeps, and we've worked with their relative people with their Jeeps, so I'm very familiar with them. They did a great job. They actually had a very fast response time, and the young man who was driving the truck did a great job, and he got right out there, and he got the road closed down. And
did you get specs off his winch so we could put one on Chuck Norris?
Oh my gosh.
Or you want the one on the dozer better?
I want the one on the dozer. So we get the big heavy recovery out there, and of course they come out on a triaxle semi truck with the big rotator back end of it, and they pluck out this 100,000 pounds. Now, fortunately, we weren't too far from the road when we did that, and so then the next plan of action is that we're going to back the house onto the property.
Just offload it. But we wanted to hit the hard pack of the drive that we've been driving on for about 3 months now. Hard pack.
The term is relative. Feels a lot harder.
Drive Jeeps everywhere.
Feels a lot harder on Jeeps than it does
giant
semi trucks. We didn't. The house and trailer, again, because it's like 100 feet long, didn't exactly hit the driveway of the hard pack, and squarely planted himself in the field.
Again.
Near
miss.
Super near miss.
The big semi with the winch on it was still there.
Yeah, we kept him around because we knew we were going to do some shenanigans. And he was able to they were able to offload the house. And
that man driving the semi was like, "Let me out of here."
Yeah, he couldn't get out there fast enough.
Yeah,
he was pretty frustrated.
It was not what he planned his Saturday as.
Not what any of us. I kept telling him, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be." I'm a part to blame here. Like, let's not get the facts getting in the way of a good story, because I was like, "Oh, this is going to be so fast. This is a hook and book.
Yeah,
we're going to just drop it and
Slight
go."
Embellishment.
Again, it's relative. It was relative perspective.
Thankfully, we know people with equipment, and that equipment has winches the size of our Jeeps.
Yes. Yeah, so we bring a dozer out on Sunday, and a huge shout out to that guy, Hugh, who has done some work around here at the shop before as we continue to expand, and he brought a dozer out, and again, Greg, our guy, actually made that point of contact to help move that along. And Hugh brings the dozer out, and he had to actually bury the dozer. So he hooks up to the house and then goes out about 20, 40 yards, let the winch out, and then he would let the tracks dig him to the ground because he could not pull it, he could not push it, and he actually had to bury it and then winch the house forward, and he just kind of inchwormed it back into position.
Was the winch cable about the size of your arm?
It was a little smaller, but the chain was so cool because the chain links were seriously
big ship chain.
And so it had about five links of chain with a big hook, and it was meant to hook back over on itself. Hugh did a great job. He kind of gave us some instruction and how to hook it up, and we hooked it for him, and we drug it. So you talk about great off-road stories. We're literally off-roading my house. And
when dozers are involved, it's a good story.
Oh man. And when dozers are digging 2-3 feet down into the dirt to anchor themselves.
Did he smooth those out, or are those Jeep holes down?
Oh, so again, and that's a great, so Greg and I are like, man, we could leave it like this.
I'm sure Jennifer would be thrilled.
Right, we're just off-roading into our driveway every day. And
yes.
So I posted online on my social media, I think on my Facebook account, and a couple of people were like, "Oh, that you could be a test track for SFJ." And yeah, so that was pretty exciting. Pretty exciting adventures that I had just had no anticipation of having that much excitement over the drop off and delivery of my modular.
In retrospect, my accomplishments on my project this weekend is very boring in comparison. all I did was look at battery cable on the 36 and try, because I actually mounted my battery, and I'm trying to figure out, like, where does cables go? And I don't have the body on it, so I'm kind of imagining, like, well, this might be where the floor is, and this might get pinched, or this may not.
Oh, good.
So
you are doing a 12 volt. Is that correct?
12 volt. And switching it to regular ground. They were positive ground back in those days.
Can you take 30 seconds and tell me what positive ground means?
So it's basically just backwards. The main difference is the polarity of the generator is opposite. But all intents and purposes, things operate just like you're used to. The Ford company thought that positive ground, which is literally the positive of the battery, goes to earth or the chassis of the vehicle, would help it not rust out. They thought the other way around would cause severe rusting problems, which I guess there's some science that could be the case, but it's so little, it's not worth it.
Right.
And at some point, the standard was 180 of that, of being negative ground. So
we're energizing the chassis then.
Yes, it seems bizarre when you talk it in that language, but it's actually okay.
We are using the chassis as a conductor of the electrical current.
Yep. And people all the time, we actually deal with this with quite regular. It's just 12 volts. It won't hurt you.
Right.
You can lick your car and it won't shock you or anything. Now, not that you should lick your car.
You can lick your car.
Or touch it.
We're going to circle back to that.
Okay, I'm sure you will. Breathe, Jeff, breathe.
Of all the things.
Anyway, your battery won't shock you. Now, if you cuddle with your coil or ignition system, that might light
amplifies the charge.
Yes.
Before it creates spark.
Yes, that will shock you. It still shouldn't kill you.
12 volt current in of itself is not dangerous. It's when we amplify it and we kind of modify it for purposes of combustion.
Yes, but that's what I did. Is I was just placing, where do cables go? What does that look like? And of course, I had a different plan. Yeah, that's what hot rodding is you have a theory and then a plan, and then that plan changes 5 times. And of course, I made cables the first time, so now nothing's the right length.
You had already made the cables before you picked them.
Of course I did. I was going to be driving it by now. I had to have cables made.
Yes. Oh, man, is that not the truth?
And then in my true hoarding nature, I had not 1, but 3 different starter solenoids, which we all know on our older Jeeps and older Fords.
Yeah.
None of which worked. I'm glad I held on to those all this time.
Good thing you held for all this time, and then you go to actually use it, and you're like, well, that was a waste.
So I'm digging through boxes from my dad, which... Neil, look at this. My dad's been gone going on 12 years now, and I still have boxes that he packaged of stuff that we saved. That was actually, some of it's new, and he did have a starter solenoid-ish. It's actually a disconnect solenoid, which we've used on projects before. One of the cool things about that is you can actually press a button and unhook the battery for safety and security measures, which would be awesome. But that's not what I need. I need a starter relay.
That's not what you need.
The big difference is those are continuous duty, where they will actually latch and feed current, where obviously that would be bad for a starting.
Yeah.
You don't want the starter to
the starter to keep going and going and going. Yeah, that's it.
So I actually ordered some parts last night, and we'll revisit that theory.
So as far as, if we're on this current, 12 volt charging, and of course you're building a flathead V8, which is very, very cool and appropriate in this modern era, right? There was a time where flathead V8s were not as well appreciated. Are you running a GM one-wire alternator? Because you've talked about a generator a couple times, and for the people who are newer Jeep owners, what we now know is an alternator that supplies charging power on our newer Jeeps. We used to have something called a generator, and they are actually 2 very different things.
Yes.
Our oldest Jeeps had generators, and we typically convert them to alternators. So what are you doing?
So I have an alternator on it, which has a good story. It is an alternator that I've owned for probably 20 years.
Oh, well, that's got a long life ahead of it, I'm sure.
And,
I'm glad that you're reusing that at this time.
people that know me know I had a Gremlin with a V8 in it, an 88 Grand Wagoneer 360 with
Absolutely.
a 5-speed.
That you found in a junkyard.
I found it in a junkyard, paid $75 for it.
Not the Gremlin, the motor.
The motor.
Most of his motors in the early age were just bone stock out of a junkyard.
For a while there, I said that I should be able to buy any 360 I want for under $100 because I bought like 5 of them for $75 because everybody's always like, well, what's it worth? I was like, well, I bought the last 3 for $75, so what do you want?
It's like when I used to buy Jeeps for $50 to $100.
Yes.
Times change,
Those
right?
days are gone.
Are gone.
But that's what I did. It was an 88 Grand Wagoneer 360 2-barrel, and I put that in the car. And at some point in my teenage years, I decided I want to make this prettier. And I took an alternator apart, a 10SI GM style, and had the case powder coated. You know what powder coat doesn't allow?
What does powder coat allow?
Ground.
Conductivity.
Conductivity.
Yep. Yes.
So I put this alternator back together, put it on the car, and I'm young. I don't know what the heck I'm doing on this situation. I know I got a pretty looking fly alternator, though. And I put it on the car, and it doesn't charge a lick. Doesn't even try to charge.
We're back to licking.
And I just at that moment, as every young mechanic should be, I'm in between spaces. I'm borrowing space, and I paid a lot, some significant money to have this case powder coated, so I didn't throw it away.
On that note, I'm just going to pause you for a second. On that note, I feel like you're just as guilty as the guy who powder coated it. Like, why didn't the powder coater step in and be like, this isn't a good idea? Like, if you were making a candy dish out of your alternator, but
That's a good idea.
well, we literally have a candy dish out of transfer case parts.
Yes.
In the showroom. So, anyways, okay. So I just as a young mechanic, I understand where your shortcomings were, but I feel like the person who powder coated it for you, I wish they would have known. Hey, David, thanks for saying something. I wish that they would have stepped in.
The good thing is, it stood the test of time, and I didn't throw it away.
It
stood
the test of time because it's been powder coated on a shelf. Of course, it stood the test of time.
Long story short, I put a new alternator on the Gremlin, and we moved on with life. And that car has actually since left my garage and gone up the main. Mm-hmm. Everybody was shocked when I did that, but I really wanted a 36 Ford, so sacrifices must be made.
Absolutely.
So after purchasing said 36 Ford, I kind of needed to didn't have a lot of money for $200-$300 alternators, and I really want the $400 generator look-alike alternator.
Sure.
Because I'm going for a theme here. Themes are important. But I had this alternator, and it looks really shiny and pretty, and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. So I take that alternator off the shelf from 20 years, take it apart, and one of the nice things my dad did a long time ago is he taught me how to properly take one apart and put back together. And toothpicks are involved.
Oh, without doubt, they're involved.
Anyway,
paper clips, toothpicks.
Yes, any small object like that. And I realize now at this point I know what an ohm meter is.
Absolutely.
And I know how to use one.
Oh,
and I realize that I don't have any conductivity through the case of the alternator. And I go, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I start grinding off powder coat where the field and the case attach and made ground.
Made it.
And it does now charge. And that's what's on the 36.
So a great little moment just about us. How old do you think you were when you pulled that case off, the alternator off the first time and did
God. Let's see. Probably early 20s, maybe even 19.
So I was going to say, it's a huge shout out to our parents for putting up with that kind of stuff, because I was 17 sitting at my parents' dining room table.
Oh, heck yeah.
Had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I'm disassembling alternators at my mom's and dad's dining room table with
Makes
toothpicks.
Perfect sense to me.
Oh, and I remember I spread it all out on the.
Of course.
On the
it really works good for that. Her baking sheets.
Oh. God love my wife. Her baking sheets are maimed because my son assembles everything on baking sheets at this point.
I wonder where he learned that from.
Right.
You know what really washes parts good? Dishwashers.
Dishwashers. Yes.
Never happens at our house. Never.
No.
At least
no.
not when wife's around.
Oh,
anyway.
gosh. Yes. Well, moving on. Moving on.
So I made this alternator work on the car, even though I hate the way it looks. It's not at all a 50s look. I'm going for a mid-50s build on this. So eventually I'd like to change it out. Quick sidebar. You know what else was built on the kitchen table?
What's that?
Amy's dad's pickups motor. Me and him put the motor together while her mom was out of town.
No.
Yeah.
The motor, you're pulling out bearings.
Well, we put the pistons together on the kitchen table.
Oh, that's awesome.
He made a 2x4 fixture. Actually took his big C-clamp vice grips, clamped it to her porcelain 50s-esque table. And we're putting wrist pins and that stuff together, assembling rings, all on the kitchen table.
All on the kitchen table.
While she was off. I don't even remember where she was at, but
sure,
that happened.
Yeah, that happened. Oh, that's awesome.
You do what you got to do.
Those are all the good memories, right? That's the point of trying to do this and share and normalize the experiences that we've had, and share with other people. It doesn't have to be out of a catalog. It doesn't have to be as much as we want to do work for people. It doesn't have to be through a pro shop.
Sometimes you got to do it the wrong way and know what the right way is.
Yep. Oh, is that? Look at you being prophetic. Well, thank you for that, sir. That was
well. I figured if I brought licking to the table, I got to bring something better.
You got to redeem yourself from licking the car. Absolutely.
Circle back. There's lots of things to be thankful for.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
knowledge and experience.
Knowledge and growth and experience. Absolutely. So, is there anything thankfulness? Anything here that you calls jumps out at us that we want to talk about?
Well, I think we brought this up on one of our other podcasts, but that this is
the coffee, because it's excellent coffee,
yes.
locally roasted.
I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'll just take Neil's word for it. But
That's
it is
true.
Local, great people, very dedicated to what they do. Very
with our blend, we have an off-road blend, which is a kind of a dark roast, and then this is the breakfast blend, which is a nice smooth roast. If you're a coffee guy or girl, coffee person.
And we joke around. The very first modification you should do to your JK after lug nuts. Because if anybody that's owned a Jeep in the last, I'll go on a limb, 30 years. Will know about their great two-piece. It's not just Chrysler, GM's done it too,
you're
Ford.
You're right.
But the little stainless shell on the outside.
I guess I was going with Chrysler era.
Yes.
I was going Chrysler era.
Jeep. At least late 80s on. This is the second thing you should purchase. And this allows you to tell your Jeep what you want it to be and do. And one of the important things right now people are dealing with is tires and tire pressures. Cold air and cold temperatures makes the tires, the air in the tires actually shrink and lowers the air pressure. And if you got your tires installed in July and you were right at that temperature where everything was working nicely, suddenly now that it's 30 and below, your little round light is going to light up with the exclamation point, and the Jeep's not going to be happy. Mm-hmm. What a lot of people don't know is actually the pressure that system wants to work at is not friendly with bigger tires. The bigger the tire you go, the less air you actually need, and then the Jeep is angry.
We have some videos about that.
Yep.
On our YouTube channel. You want to check out we have a 5-tire rotation and chalk test. Yeah, and we talk a little bit about that. We get a lot of questions about tire pressure specifically and handling.
And we have a general rule we go by. We've done so many Jeeps, we kind of know about where you should start. But it's always best to do the chalk test because every Jeep is different. Weight is different. What you carry is different.
Tire construction is also different. That does affect things. What the recommendation is there.
But this allows you to hook up to your OBD2 port. And it's very friendly and easy to use. And it's right around $200. It's hard to argue the value here because you can actually scan your vehicle with it as well.
So that one actually is the flash pack. So I was just noticing.
Oh yeah,
looks like they put the flash pack on here, and you're referencing the flash cal, which is largely a calibration tool, and it's. Again, as you said, one of the best $200 you can spend on your JK.
This one actually gives you Hirsch purrs.
Hirsch purrs, right? This one is the Hirsch purr, and you can feel it too, right? So Flash pack is arguably most valuable. Now, this is straight opinion on a late 11 through 14 JK.
Yep.
This specific configuration.
It's big bang for your buck. Because not only do you get the features of the Flash cowl, but you get a towing and a performance tune out of it. And I can tell you, the cold air with that performance tune,
yeah,
it notices.
Yeah, it notices. It's the best way to, and while I would never recommend not re-gearing, if you are a person who is going to wait to re-gear, but you're running the bigger tires now, it's a great way to get back a little of that oomph.
Have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, after you've re-geared and done that, you'll never go back.
A lot of people ask, how do I get the Hurst purrs?
Which is not going to make your 3.6 become a Hemi by any stretch.
No,
but it's definitely a seat of the pants dyno approved.
It is. It is. It's well done there.
Yeah.
Like, you should do a bling. If there was a little bling that would have come out at the same time, that would have been perfect. And we can use this on 07 on the 3.8 Jeeps. It really has the impact on the 3.6. The 3.6 really comes alive with it.
Yes.
Later models, so starting in 15 to 18 of JK, Chrysler locks the computer. And so we actually have to use two modules at that point. We use the Pulsar, which is a piggyback computer, and a Flash Cal for calibration purposes.
Which is more money, but definitely still worth it. At this point, my 15 has both, and I would do it again 100 times over. It's very sad when you get in a Jeep that's not geared and not performanced.
Yes,
and you're like,
enhanced,
oh,
yeah.
This is what it was like.
Oh, this is the before times.
The before times.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very cool, and they do have the Pulsar products available for the JLs and the JTs.
Yep.
They are readily putting out for 2.0 turbo motors as well. So this is a product by Superchips, and we've been working with this product for honestly just under a decade at this point. We've personally been working with it, and they just keep improving upon their design.
One of the cool things about it is you can actually update it, you can hook it on your computer,
Yep.
and all the new things that come out with can be automatically put onto it. And the other thing is there are other components out there that do very similar things, but this is just so easy to use, and the price difference is so minimal.
Right.
That this is like using your cell phone. If you can use your smartphone, you can use this product. There's no switches to try to make sure you have in the right position or any of that kind of stuff, jumping up and down, patting your head kind of stuff.
Right.
It just plain works.
It does.
And that's why we don't ever really like this. We always like all products, but why we endorse this one is just because it just plain works.
It just plain works. That's a good way to put it. So, absolutely. I think that as we kind of circle back around, and we got started a little late, so we might start to finish up here. We've told some good stories. We obviously want to recap people that have joined and communicated with us. We appreciate you tuning in and watching, even just a small portion, and commenting. We do see it. We do monitor that and respond back to people accordingly. It will go live on YouTube. If you haven't watched our previous ones, you can tune in and check out and see what kind of projects we've gotten ourselves into, projects here in the shop. We do have a couple cool ones we turned out over the past week, and we'll be turning out some more. It's a little bit of a short week, but we're really encouraging people to join us on Friday, 5 to roughly 7. Parade time steps off at 7 p.m. And we want you to join us. Come out, see the shop for yourself. Talk to us, meet us if you haven't met any of the Simpson team here, and make people happy with your Jeeps.
It's also important to note we will be closed on Thanksgiving Day and Black Friday until the parade. Be with our families.
Absolutely. And there's some wheeling events typically on Black Friday. I haven't seen a huge push.
I do know SOR is having a Black Friday ride, and I don't know if Elcor is still doing their Black Friday ride or not. But if they are, it's definitely a good time. It is a members-only ride, so you have to be
Elcor.
You have
Absolutely.
to be a member of the club. But obviously, SOR is going to be open to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you sign your
waiver ahead of time.
That helps make everything go smoothly. And SOR is hard to beat. There's literally something for everyone.
Absolutely.
You can go with a bone stock Jeep and have fun, or you can have Chuck Norris and go
play in the rocks and
granite
climb a
walls
cliffside
and stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. So we hope that that people have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving and an opportunity to kind of recenter with all that's going on, and then go out and play on Black Friday. Shop if you want, if that's your thing, but definitely opportunities to use your Jeep, and then join us in the evening for a parade and
start off the Christmas season with the right foot.
Yeah, be happy and celebratory in the process. So, make sure you check us out online, get some of that merchandise on sfj4x4.com. Give us a call at 440-813-3663, option 1. Give us a call, talk to somebody at the front end and see if we can get you some parts or get you booked for a job. I see Jason commenting to us. So, hey, Jason, thanks for logging in and saying hi, and we look forward to seeing you guys. And actually, Patrick's Jeep just popped up in my memories. I was going through my Facebook memories, and they have a very cool Jeep that's all in red lighting. It's a great showpiece for the Radiant series of lights.
And Patrick loves parades.
Yes. Oh yeah, the guys love parades. That's what's so cool about the Jeep community is that there really is something for everyone. If it's a social affair and you want to go out and get food together and talk and tell stories, if you want to dress your Jeep up and kind of accessorize it and make it look fun, or if you want to go out and wheel it and kind of put it through its paces. That's the neat thing about our vehicles and what brings us together as a community.
Well, and you'll grow, once you're in the community enough, you'll understand it's not just the vehicle, it's the people you meet, it's the experiences you make, the things you do with it, the memories made. That's what makes it special. And that's with old cars, Jeeps, trucks, whatever you want to do. That's what makes it special.
That's a great way to sum even this up and what we're doing here. So an amazing way to close. I appreciate that. You've been prophetic today. You've given us that and licking vehicles. So without further ado, make sure you log on to our social media, follow us on Instagram, follow the company on Facebook, and until then, Jeep family, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
And get riding your soul.